Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley. This is going to be a big 3v3 on this extreme right flank. We have an army of the Greenskins, and we're going to be facing off against a triple dwarf army out here in the swamps, the marshes. So they're rallying on what little high ground there is. A lot of warriors of Dragonfire Pass, Quarrelers, Thunderers, all sorts of units. They wish they were a little taller because, as you can see, once they're crossing down, their beards are going to be dipping right into this gooky, disgusting water. So they have that to deal with, but then they also have our armies to deal with. So they're going to reposition. Their guns most likely are going to be blobbed, and so all they can do is look out towards this little elevated causeway in the center and wonder what's coming at them. Well, what's coming at them is going to be my force, which is going to be the Vampire Counts, and then in the center we actually have, interestingly enough, a Wood Elf army that's going to be joining us. In my front lines, I have two Banshees, and I always like to bring Banshees because as ethereal units and heroes, they seem to do pretty well. They're armor piercing. I always find them sticking out till the end of the battle, and you can do a lot of kind of cheeky stuff like I'm doing here, which is using their very good mobility to just bait out lots of shots from artillery, archers, and really take no damage. I mean, if we look at the health of this guy, yeah, she's still at full health pretty much. So that's really cheeky. And then the rest of my force, I'm moving up. I have a little bit of a Graveguard Corps. Vlad von Karstein, didn't mount him or anything, so he's going to be walking around on foot. Actually, I don't think you can mount him. Anyways, the Corpse Cart here, going to be pulling forward ahead. I just want him to buff up my main line. But what's my biggest hitting force? Well, on the flank here, I have several Karen rates, and then I also have, I believe it's going to be three Cryptors. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 of those units, and then 2 of the Karen rates. So that's going to be going for a massive left hook, as well as the Black Coach that's going to try and execute a flanking attack. So a lot of ethereal units, mostly because I wanted to deal armor piercing damage to the enemy and have damage resistance kind of help me out, because the dwarves don't really have that much that can kill, that does kind of magical damage. So I was hoping that that would give me a buff, but they have a big long wall of Longbeards which can absorb a charge, so I don't want to hit this from the front. So what I'm going to be doing is kind of moving up in the center, holding firm, and then waiting to strike a blow to the flank, and especially, I mean, this would be perfect Wind of Death. So I'm going to try and bring my Lord up through here. And in the back, I also have a Direwolf back, and he's going to be going after the cannons. Let's take a look at this dwarf army. Now that it's gone and claimed high ground, it's going to turn about and take a look at the flanking position, wondering why aren't there any dwarves guarding that. But anyways, they're going to start to get their shots off. But the front lines are going to get engaged. My Karen rate's going to be coming right through the middle, hitting the Longbeards. My flank on this side, the Graveguard, is starting to get hit by this organ gun, but I was able to collapse in on it and destroy it. An allied force, an entire dwarven army, actually 2 dwarven armies, everything's going to be kind of collapsing in on me from the flank, so I have to make quick work of the dwarves. We'll see how that happens, but yeah, everything, like I said, is going to be pulling over to our side. Look how many angry dwarves this is. This is scary. I gotta hope my allies will come in soon. Grumbrindel, the white dwarf in the center as well. Oh god, this is such a juicy target for Wind of Death. And our artillery, which is doing some work. So what I've done is I've pulled forward with Vlad, and what he's going to be doing is just making sure to raise the dead, in the back, tie down the Quarrelers. Black Coach is also going to help disrupt the rear ranks, although he's going to draw the attention of Thorgrim and a Runesmith, so it might be a little bit hard for me to do a lot of damage up through the center, though I did want to break the enemy's charge with my Lord and then come in with my Graveguard, get them a little bit more chance, and then pull up with my Corpse Cart in the rear. Over here, I have 2 Karen rates that are doing pretty good against the Longbeard, and they are kind of tying down the enemy so that we can get a nice big old charge in the back. This is my Cryptors, so making mincemeat of these early troops, but it's this big blob in the center that's going to be worrying me. We do get a nice big sandwich, so I'm doing everything I can to deal with these Longbeards, but they have charged defense, so they're going to do pretty good. Ooh, another strike in the back with my Dire Pack, and then 2 of the Banshees also getting into the rear, so doing pretty good here. And I have this Glade Lord or Forest Dragon also helping me out. A weakened Cryptor is going to come into the back to do a lot of damage. Vlad here is moving out to the rear just to help raise dead and do other things. So what I'm going to try and do is disengage him from that fight and pull him over. This is a very tempting target for Wind of Death. Meanwhile, as the enemy has moved everything to deal with my threat, well, they have left some of their cannons in the back, and these are going to be targeted by a roving band of these prancing ponies. And the Wild Rider is doing tremendous damage. It looks like even the Greenskins coming in to join in on the fun. So the Dwarfs better pucker up their defenses. Oh god, they have even more troops left out in the distance. This is not looking good for them. Oh, and here comes this Wind of Death that I have ready. And it is just going to tear right through the Dwarven reinforcements. Multiple ranks there, flattened. It could have done more damage, but I think that was still a pretty healthy hit there. Actually, not as much as I would have thought, although I did hit the Longbeards, luckily. So the earlier blob would have been a better target, but still I felt this was necessary. And they're going to be massing up against a big army of Night Goblins, so this isn't a very intimidating force from our ally, but they are numerous. And I probably should have saved my Wind of Death for this engagement, because the enemy is bunched up on the wall, or sorry, on the causeway here, and now the engagement is underway. Tons of stuff coming in here. This looks super glorious. The enemy's going to hold the top, throw satchels in and amongst both troops. This is just so punishing, although we do get Foot of Gork that smashes in on these lines, and with the monsters, it's going to tear through this. A nice Wind of Death would have done a lot of damage. Holy crap, look how much is going on here. But that Night Goblin force has been flash bombed, and they're getting absolutely thrashed. So this Greenskin main line is going to collapse almost instantly. Luckily, we still have some more units in the back moving up, and we do have a Hammer of Gork here that's doing pretty good damage against the Greenskins, against the Dwarfs. So we're tying them down, and meanwhile, in the distance, Wild Riders and other units are picking off some of the key valuable forces. That's been going on. Back on my side, the Black Coach has continued to kind of tear through the back lines of these Longbeards. Grombrindle has popped an ability on them, but slowly I'm chewing my way through the flank with my more elite units. Down through the center, I didn't really have much to kind of hold back the enemy here. All I really had was some zombies that I raised in the center, plus some of my Banshees who are still holding strong. Not much can do damage to them. And then I did have one Crip Horror Force, but he's being killed by Thorgrim. So it's really going to be a case of me having to turn this flank finally and just keep collapsing on the Dwarfs. Meanwhile, I did bring Vlad into the center, and he's going to help to shore up this flank, which was getting torn to pieces by the enemy. And he's going to be doing work. In the distance, we can see the fight continuing. So freaking cool. Oh my god. An entire collapse on our flank, it looks like. Wazog in the mix as well, trying to hold firm, but it looks like the causeway is going to be held by the Dwarves here. The giant Greenskin rush is going to be beaten back, so they get a little bit of a chance to catch their breath. All of this being led by Grombrindal. This is not looking good too good for us. Although, here comes the charge in the back, which is going to be a godsend. These guys, these Wild Riders hit hard, plus the Forest Dragon. We're going to be taking out more of the enemy units, especially their vulnerable Thunderers and other units. So this is good for us. We're picking up a little bit as of that loss. And yeah, the infantry here did win, but they're all pretty low health. And so what we can do is, if we can strip away a lot of these weaker quarrelers, we can come back in and hit this with our range units once they come back from routing. A little bit of a Dwarf Warrior force pulled all the way through here, but now we can pop out reinforcements from the woods. Tonal Guard's going to be charging forward, plus a Branch Wraith, so that will make short work of them. Meanwhile, over here, where the battle is still underway, my Black Coach with 78 kills is going to be finally killed by a combination of Lords. Yeah, Grombrindal plus Thorgrim. This is going to be pretty hard for me to take out, but you can see in the vicinity, I believe I have my Corpse Guard. Yeah, so he's been buffing up my units, helping to hold the line, but it looks like his end is going to be here soon. Meanwhile, I've pulled forward Vlad, and it looks like Wazog here is going to get a breath spell, does a little bit on these Longbeards, and I had pulled forward Vlad. I think we may have missed it, but I think I did another Wind of Death to try and punish this infantry blob, and it seemed to have done okay. And I keep raising dead all over just to tie down these archers. We're doing okay. Broken Tusk Mob also in the mix, but my flank here is finally turning against the enemy, but it is a long slogging fight, and the reinforcement of the Thorgrim Redgebearer here, a Thane and the Runesmith, and Thorgrim here, so a lot of Lords. That's going to be hard for me to deal with. So I'm going to start to get crumbling on this flank, but luckily my allies are coming in to reinforce, and it is just awesome to see this roving band of deer, murder deer, eating, you know, the little bits of the dwarf army that get pulled away from the fight. So they're doing good work. The Greenstons are going to come back, and in combination with roving Eternal Guard are going to do pretty well. Here's the huge cluster of Night Goblins coming back, so the numbers are swinging back in our favor. Yes, this is pretty good. And this spider are going to be critical to take out the enemy. Here's a giant blob of troops that we really want to target. And what I decided to do is Grombrindel was chasing me, so I tried to bait him away from the fight with Vlad. And then what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to pull both of my Banshees to fight him in the woods. So Grombrindel here is at 3,500 health. I pop the thing of Beguilement. I can't remember what this does, but what it's called, but it basically takes your melee attack way down. So I'm popping all sorts of abilities, and then I'm going to try and shank him with 3 of my lords. And you saw he was at 3,500 health. And what is he down to? 3,100. I'm going to raise dead to keep the enemy miners off my back. And yeah, so it's Master of Beguilement, minus 58 melee attack, and he is dropping pretty quickly. The enemy in response is going to try and pull in some of their own units. This Thane, for instance, wading through his guys, trying to turn about. He was busy trying to deal with my heroes, or sorry, my big squad here. That did a lot of damage to the enemy infantry, but finally it looks like it's going to be going down. The reinforcing lords are going to be enough to do away with them, and the corpse guard disappearing is going to mean that I'm going to start to crumble on this flank. Yeah, so my guys can go away. And it actually looks like I was able to keep this corpse guard alive somehow, so that's letting me hold out that much longer. In the center, though, all these returning infantry plus monsters plus attacks in the back are being really freaking awesome. Somehow turning the tide in the center where I didn't think we had hope. But yeah, this is going to digest this entire force. And again, the roving murder band in the back doing its work. And just as my heroes are kind of being taken out in the center, I'm being surrounded by enemy forces. A Thane is going to try and pull through and deal with Vlad here, who's doing okay, but he's debilitated. And once I get knocked down, you can see this Thane here. I don't know how he's going to do this, but take a look at my health. I'm at 1,400, and he lands a brutal strike on me, and instantly I drop to 600. I don't know how he did that much damage in one hit. That was really scary. So I try and hit the enemy and pull my lord out, but actually Vlad ends up dying. So that is going to be it for my forces. The rest of them are going to collapse. The Banshee is still going to hold strong till the end, but it's only now, just as I die, that the green tide comes in to save the day. So if only they could have been a little bit hastier on their assault, I could have kept my lord alive. But it is still a welcome sight. It's going to wash through and clean up these dwarfs. The shadow of the forest dragon also overhead. Pretty freaking cool. And now we're going to close on to the final cluster of enemy units. You can see all that's really left from dealing with my army is going to be Thorgrim. He's going to come back into the fight, and you see the elves have betrayed him. Lots of abilities going to be getting popped here, but it is all over. This is a murderous, yeah, everything is coming to the center. This is a murderous shit show, and yeah, the enemy just completely collapses in at that point. So I thought this was a really fun battle, pretty epic stuff. 3v3 seemed to go like incredibly fast, but I think it was kind of cool the way it played out, where I was the pushing the flank, and then everything kind of tried to collapse in on me, and then we had a fight in the center with winds of deaths and all sorts of foot of gorks popping off everywhere, doing lots of damage. And then in the end, we saw a good amount of lord fights, and yeah, it was pretty cool. But then again, this is why I bring the Banshees, because you can see they're, you know, still standing at the end of my fight despite everything else dying, so they are very resilient, I find. Let's end the battle, take a look at some of the stats here. So for my part, I brought 452, so pretty low army numbers on our side. Vlad doing 63 kills, 67 and 60 on both of my Banshees, so again, that's why I bring them. They're pretty good. Black Coach was 79. Graveguard doing good work, and even the Dire Pack here doing pretty good. It mostly was taking out artillery. But yeah, not ridiculous kills, but still pretty healthy on all of my guys, especially against dwarves, killing pretty high value units. We can take a look at the Duchy here. His Night Goblins got a fair amount of kills, actually, considering they were fighting dwarves. I think they might have been fighting some of the lower tier dwarf warriors. The Rusty Air is doing work, and the artillery here, holy crap, 219. I think that carried the day. that probably got the most kills of the entire army. So yeah, that was hitting the cluster super hard. So always I find it's useful for the greenskins to bring a catapult or a doom diver. They end up doing a lot of damage. We can look at our ally here. He did okay. Most of the kills being done with the Wild Riders that we're pursuing, and actually the Way Watchers probably sniping a lot of targets in that blob, getting good work done. We could switch over to the other side. Galandrin here did not super great. 640, so you would have expected him to do more kills. For that, I think he invested a lot of his money in Grumbrindel, but that was the one that I brought low pretty early on, so the rest of his guys were kind of neutered. Here, Liviejo, I don't know why, they all brought kind of cheap, crappy units. I would have gone for better forces, but yeah, Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, I don't know how they got 0 kills, but this army just got absolutely shreked. I don't know what went on. Miners seem to be paying almost better than Longbeards in this case, just blowing up. I believe they're the ones who were targeting the Fanatics. So yeah, a lot of squishy units, more squishy than you'd expect for the Dwarves. And then over here, this is the army that I was fighting. It looks like he got a good amount of kills with those Longbeards, holding line pretty well. And the Dragonback Slayers also doing really good work. Plus this Goblobber, Grudge Thrower doing a lot of damage as well. So that's it for this battle. I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out. Make sure to check out the Moment series as well. I've been putting up some cool episodes. The Spartan one-liners one seems to be doing really well. People like that, so check that out. But also make sure to check out the other one that I put out that's on ancient serial killers, going over kind of the interplay between the different classes, what gets recorded in history. It's kind of not so much the gruesomeness of the video. It goes more the analytical side and kind of reveals some of the behind-the-curtain parts of history. So yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.